Hey, what's up guys? Rob here. In today's video, I want to explain how you can convey value to a woman in a very roundabout, somewhat counterintuitive way. All right, so we've all been there, whether it's been on a date or even like at a job interview or even just kind of talking to your friends. You're telling a story or you're conveying some aspect of your life or your lifestyle, and there's something cool going on in your life, and you wanna let those people know, whether it's your friends, whether it's a girl you're on a date with or you just met, or even, like I said, you can imagine doing this at a job interview. Anytime we're talking about ourselves, obviously the intuitive thing is we think, okay, let me talk about some of the cool things going on in my life. Whatever those things are, even if you don't come out and outright brag about it, a lot of the times, if we're honest, we kind of shoehorn those things into the conversation, right? And for me, anytime I'm teaching this, the analogy I always like to make is it's like a guy riding a bike, right? If you're an adult watching this, chances are you know how to ride a bike. So if you went out this weekend and you went on a bike ride, you went into your garage, you got your bike down, you put your helmet on, you went out and you rode around your neighborhood a little bit, and you came back, put the bike back. The first thing you probably would not do is call all your friends and be like, dude, you are not gonna believe this, man. I just got on my bike and I rode it. Yeah, like dude, I'm not, swear to God, man. I went into my garage, I got it down, put my helmet on, fucking dude, I was pedaling, and I was going down the street, and I was probably going like 15 miles per hour. It's pretty sweet. It's just something no self-respecting adult is ever gonna do, because you can just imagine the person in the other line, just after they're being confused, they're gonna be like, well, why are you telling me this? Like, what's the big deal? Like, you don't know how to ride a bike? What the fuck's wrong with you? And, even though it's kind of a funny analogy, I see this all the time. And yeah, like most guys know enough not to go on like Facebook or like to lead with a story like bragging about, some cool job promotion they got or some cool thing going on in their life. But if you're honest, probably, if you're guilty of this, and most guys are, I know I was, we try to find like ways to shoehorn it into the conversation. And I cringe as I think back, but I'm going to tell you a story of a much younger Rob. I remember the first time I wore an Armani suit, and I met up with this girl, and I thought I was hot shit, right? I had just gotten this nice Armani suit, and I went to the tailor, and I got it like tailored to fit really nice, and I went on this date, and yeah, like I knew enough at that point not to say, oh hey, guess what I'm wearing, this Armani suit. But at the same time, at some point, maybe after a couple of drinks, we were talking about something or other, and somehow it came up, something about fashion, or I don't even remember what it was, but I remember at some point I disclosed I was wearing an Armani suit. And as soon as the words left my mouth, I like internally cringed, because I realized how try-hard and stupid I probably sounded. And I also realized I was probably waiting for that moment to tell this girl I was wearing the Armani suit. So don't be me wearing the Armani suit for the first time, because again, it confirms everything I just told you. The reason I felt this internal need to let her know I was wearing this Armani suit was because of the fact that it was the first time I was wearing it. And, and a lot of the times, whenever we do things for the first time, we want to share it with people. You've probably seen this on your social media feeds, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, whatever. The pictures that people usually like to post, like say it's a picture of them going to Paris, right? And it's like them in front of the Eiffel Tower. Someone who's going to post that, it's probably their first time in Paris. And look, there's nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, when you're doing this around women, what it's conveying, you think you're telling a story that's making you look cool. But in actuality, the subtext of it, it's doing the exact opposite. It's like, wow, this must be so outside of this guy's reality that he feels a need to tell me. So whether it's driving a cool car, this promotion you got at work, you think, oh, okay, like I'm talking about this, how I'm really, well off in my career. But think about a guy like George Clooney, right? If George Clooney was on a date with a girl, he wouldn't be talking about, hey, I just got this really big acting role. Like, of course you did. You're George Clooney. And again, not that I know George Clooney personally, but I'm sure if you ever have a conversation with George Clooney, my money would be on the fact that he would probably tell you more of a self-deprecating story rather than a story about him getting a role in some movie. So don't be Rob in the Armani suit. Be George Clooney, just being comfortable in your own skin. whenever I teach this to students or I'm trying to explain this to clients, I always go back to one of my favorite stories when it comes to working in this dating advice industry, and it's the night that I met a dating instructor known simply as Mickey. And I knew nothing about, all I knew about this guy was that his name was Mickey, and I met him through a mutual friend. And again, I've met so many dating instructors at this point, you know, over the years, and usually the conversations are pretty predictable, right? We meet up, you know, the cooler guys, a lot of times they like to talk about theory or whatever, and then the lesser, the more annoying guys, they usually like to tell me about, you know, some war story, some brag story about some hot girl you just hooked up with, bro, you know, and a lot of times that's the story they want to lead with, and it's very obvious why they want to lead with that story, right? Because I'm a dating instructor, they're a dating instructor, they want to show me that they're not full of shit and that they get hot chicks, bro. But what they're actually conveying to me is probably, this is like, yeah, like they, you know, I'm not saying that these guys are lying about it, but if that's the first story they want to tell me, that's probably very much outside of their reality. They're very much acting like the guy who's so proud of himself because he got on a bike and rode it. So when I met this guy, Mickey, it was funny because he did the exact opposite. He took the opposite approach. What Mickey did was Mickey showed up, and the first thing, it was like chomping at the bit to tell me this story about that the night before, he had just hooked up with the ugliest chick he said he'd ever seen in his life. I mean, and he described this woman almost like it was a Bigfoot sighting, right? He's like, yeah, but dude, yeah, she had, you know, hair on her kneecaps, and she, dude, missing teeth, checked all the ugly boxes. She was checking ugly boxes I didn't even know existed, man. Her toes smelled, you know, and he described this chick, and I mean, I was cracking up, I was in stitches, but, you know, aside from the fact that it was a really funny story, it was a really entertaining way, it was really, you know, it made me feel like I knew this guy better than I probably did. But on top of that, the subtext of that was, you know, this is probably outside this guy's reality. The fact that he feels, you know, even though he knows I'm a dating instructor, I know he's a dating instructor, I would think that he would want to impress me. He took the exact opposite approach. He made himself completely vulnerable. He said something that was actually, could potentially, you know, if I was a dick, could potentially hurt, you know, hurt a career, or I could make fun of him or whatever. He made himself vulnerable because of the fact that he was that strong. And that's something I want you to think about. Sometimes when we disclose things that might seem like they're a little self-deprecating, they make us vulnerable, what the subtext of it is that you're, it conveys how strong you actually are, how high value you actually are, because of the fact that if you're telling this story, if you feel that this is one of the first things you want to tell this person, and it doesn't have to be, and again, and it shouldn't be something like Mickey's story of, you know, hooking up with the ugliest girl you've ever seen, but maybe it's like some funny thing that happened at work, some moment at work where you weren't, you know, the man, or it's like, you know, or it was some athletic thing where you didn't take first place, or you know, whatever it is. But if that's a story that you tell, not only just to women, but you know, this works in you know, any aspect of life. The subtext of that, or what the listener is going to walk away from, aside from, you know, again, hearing probably a better story than the brag story or even the shoehorn story, is they're going to walk away and be like, if he's telling me that, if he feels comfortable about that, this guy must be really comfortable in his own skin. He must be really strong. He must be really high value, like, you know, like I said, like the George Clooney, because of the fact that I could have made fun of him. The story could have, you know, this could have worked against him. But the fact that he's talking about this guy must be a fucking winner. And you know, to sum this up in like a little mantra that's almost like a joke, it's like, when do you know a loser's winning, right? Because you know, again, losers win every once in a while. And you know, how can you tell? How can you tell when a loser is winning? And don't worry about it. The punchline is, they'll tell you. And they'll tell you on the social media feed, they'll tell you because it's the first story, it's the first brag story they want to tell. If a guy who's never ridden a bike in his life suddenly took his bike down, put the helmet on, and went out for a bike ride, fuck yeah, that guy's calling everyone he knows and telling them, dude, I rode the bike. And then it'd be, okay, like that's the first time you're riding the bike. Again, I was that guy when I was like fucking 5 or 6 years old.
Everybody, I know you can believe in yourself. If you believe in yourself, you will know how to ride a bike.
But if I did that as a 38-year-old, I would sound ridiculous, and no one would care. But that's how ridiculous a lot of guys and a lot of people in general sound to me when they think they're impressing me, or by, you know, maybe even not outright bragging to me, but even when they start shoehorning in these little details they want me to know. And again, you might not think you're being obvious, but it always is. And when they're shoehorning those details in, a little radar or a little, you know, alarm goes off my head and like, if they want me to know this so bad, this is probably really outside their reality. So whether they're telling me a story about some crazy thing they did, some really cool place they traveled, whatever. If the point of the story is simply that they went to this thing or did this thing, you know, chances are what I'm going to walk away from, aside from the fact that I'm going to be bored, is I'm going to be like, that's probably really outside their reality. That's why they're telling the story. But if the point of the story is some funny thing happened to them, and especially if it's some funny thing that makes them look a little vulnerable, I'm gonna have a much different impression of them. In fact, I'm gonna be talking about them just like I still talk about Mickey to this day. And when I think back to Mickey, and I met a lot of guys in the dating advice industry, guys who are really credible and awesome, and guys who are full of shit. Mickey always stands out because of the fact that the way he differentiated himself was he told me that story. So be Mickey. Don't be the guy riding the bike. Don't be Rob in the Armani suit. Think about this the next time you're on a date with a woman, or even think about this next time you're on a job interview, or even just talking to your buddies. You know, not only does this make you attractive to women, it also gets you respect from guys because of the fact that it shows, in a weird roundabout way, it actually shows how strong you are. All right, guys. Well, I hope that helped. I hope you found that tip useful. And it's one of the reasons I like teaching this mindset so much is it's one of those things that you can go out right now, go out and apply, and even if you fuck it up a little bit, it's still probably you're gonna get a really good reaction, and it's just gonna be a self-fulfilling prophecy from there. So go out, give it a try, and when you do, leave a comment below and tell your story. And if it went really great, yeah, you know, it's okay. I'll give you a pass. You can tell that story. But especially if it didn't go so great, even more of a reason to leave a comment below. So that's all I got for today. Hope you guys found that useful. Talk to you soon.